Hello. And welcome to our review of Cats. The embargo's down, which means we can finally say something about this movie, which we could not say anything publicly about until this very moment when you're watching this review. I'm Dan Murrell.
I'm Roth, Cornet, and I couldn't be more excited to talk about this movie because as much as we've been jokingly anticipating this all year,
yes,
there actually is a fair bit to talk about when it comes to the film itself, which in the case of another film that we were once counting down, Meg, that wasn't so much fulfilled.
No, it was kind of like okay. Yeah, it was all in the build-up.
Yeah.
Not so much this. I was worried that would be the case, but it was not for me. This movie is a spectacular disaster.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean both of those words to the full extent of their meaning. Both spectacular and disaster. I have become, through the Meowdown and whatnot over the last few months, somewhat familiar with the world of Cats. I watched the musical, the film version of the musical, and I didn't think you could make it worse. But they figured out a way.
Yeah, I have seen the musical. This is, I've seen the musical, which was, I thought, very, very psychedelic and surreal and strange.
And 80s.
And 80s, incredibly 80s thematically. And
so 80s.
The Kimmy Schmidt version of what's actually happening in Cats, I think, is the only one that makes any sense for how that play functions. I won't spoil it for you because it's actually a very funny storyline in the final season of Kimmy Schmidt. But I will say this, a number of people have said, why are you giving so much time to Cats and talking about Cats? And let me explain that for a minute. One, it's different, which is really refreshing.
It's unique.
It's unique.
You're not going to see another movie like this ever.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually exciting and refreshing for us, just that's available. So I actually want to applaud everyone involved for the level they committed to they committed to this.
Some in different ways, which I'll talk about. But yes, there was commitment.
There was commitment. I think a lot of the actors were in different movies.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. This has this alchemy going on, and I didn't think I could. I feared I built it up in my head too much, and I didn't. Yes. Because you have a cast led by Francesca Hayward, who's an unknown, but others who are very much rooted in the theatrical tradition, who are playing this movie as if it were the Broadway show.
Right.
Very stagey, very theatrical, very, lithe and cat-like, like a dancer, like the show.
Yeah. Well, she is a dancer.
She is a dancer, yes.
Yeah.
Then you have James Corden and Rebel Wilson and Idris Elba.
And they're in a sketch.
They are in a broad comedy.
Yes.
They are in a movie that is like a broad side of the barn, almost vaudevillian comedy.
I actually think they are in a Saturday Night Live sketch about the play Cats.
Right. Then you have Judi Dench and Jennifer Hudson, who are in like an Oscar bait drama. They are taking it so seriously, and this is like the most serious thing in the world to them. And then you have Ian McKellen.
He's the cat we want.
He's the cat that I wish all the other cats were, because obviously they went to Ian McKellen and said, we want you to play a cat. And he was like, then I am going to play a cat. And he is like the method acting Meisner, like Strasberg style act, like inhabiting a feline body, but he's the only one of anyone in the cat that did it. And they're all bouncing off of each other.
Yes. And none of them really work together. There's two movies that I'd be curious to see the version of the movie that they think that they're in.
Yes.
I think that the one that's sort of sketch-like is limited inherently because it feels like a parody in a sketch that has only so much time available to it. The second one is that Ian McKellen is the cat we want. He's the cat we need. He's the cat we deserve when we're being very good. I want to see the Ian McKellen version where everyone else is in the movie that he thinks he's in.
Yes.
And Tom Hopper is directing the movie that he thinks he's in.
Yes.
That's Ian McKellen is the cat of cats. He's the MVP of the cats.
He is.
But the one that breaks my heart is Jennifer Hudson because she she is so talented as a singer. She's giving it her all. When she does Memory, which is the iconic song of this musical.
The Let It Go of Cats.
It's the Let It Go of Cats.
Everyone remembers Cats more fondly because it has
this one great
of the best songs ever written at the end of it.
It's a heartbreaking song.
Oh, that's a great musical. No, it's a great song. And I'm sorry, it's a terrible musical. Yeah. I'm not saying that the music is terrible. I'm saying that the musical is terrible.
It's weird.
It's bad.
This one great song, and she's giving it her all. I mean, she's crying so much that she's snotting, and you know what I mean. And because the emotion is so raw, and she's thinking, I can tell, like she's just probably thinking, like, this is it. This is my Anne Hathaway in Les Mis moment. This is my Dreamgirls. And then it cuts away to this inadvertently comical shot of Judi Dench in a poofy fur collar, basically going like this, and it completely underscores what might have been. For half a second, I got body chills because Jennifer Hudson's so talented.
She's a wonderful talent.
But it's insane because then it cuts to the shot of Judi Dench, and you just can't help but laugh because it's so ridiculous. So that's that. Structurally, no one's in the same movie.
There's no structure to the movie. Now, the one positive I will say is that the effects in that first trailer were not ready for prime time, and they look way better.
They are not all the way baked still.
I know, but like compared to what they looked like in that first trailer, I still don't know why they put those shots out because they were not even close to ready.
No.
They're like 75% less horrific in this movie.
They are, but I will say this is the other thing that's very interesting about the film. And by the way, I want to make it clear, I sort of recommend that you do see this because you're never going to see anything like it, but that's not to say that this is a good movie. It's just fascinating. Here's the other thing about the film. This is before we even get into the inherent problems with the structure of the story as written, which makes no sense, like the mythology. I would argue, Dan, you said this actually is not a good depiction of the interior life of a cat. but two is that just visually, they're using perspective in the way that somebody that we've seen before in films from oh my God, it's Memory, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Michel Gondry.
Yes.
So, but the perspective is incredibly inconsistent.
It's off.
So the size of a cat, as compared to its environment, doesn't really make sense.
Sometimes they look like regular cat size, but then there's like a scene where they're walking on a rail and they look like the size of mice.
Yes.
It doesn't, there's no consistency. And then they have actual mice, which are played by people, children.
Yes. But then they're sitting on a stage where Ian McKellen has this big number that looks like it's sized to a cat,
but it's
not
in a building
human.
That's a human
building. Very unclear.
None of it makes any sense.
Very unclear.
It's all unclear.
If you're not on acid, which you shouldn't be while watching this movie,
you're going to jump out of the window.
It would be very dangerous. But it'll make you feel like you're. The
army of talking cockroaches is what like the child mice kind of put me on edge, but the army of talking cockroaches is what really.
That's when you understand that this movie is going to fulfill its destiny. So very early on in the movie, we're introduced. Rebel Wilson does a number in which not only is she doing cat things, but then she opens a door to an army of mice who are also human-faced, and then added to that is the
human child faces.
Human child faces for no reason, and then roaches, also human-faced, but that are also, again, to the point of perspective, the same size as the mice. Very confusing.
It's very confusing. I mean, this movie is terrible. It's awful. It's really bad. The source material's not great, and then they took it and they made it worse by adding these sort of. You could tell they're like, we kind of need to add some kind of plot to this. Yeah. So they did it by like adding one little side quest, meaningless side quest to like McCavity magicking away cats, and then you see where they're deposited. Yeah. It goes nowhere.
Which also, that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense whatsoever. And then they also have like little spoken word interludes, but like they're so on the nose that it's like literally there's lines of like, oh, that's great. Would you like to come see me make the Jellicle choice now?
Can we talk about the Jellicle choice for a moment?
So if you don't know, the premise of the show as it is, if you haven't been watching the Meowdown, is that once a year, these cats, this tribe of cats called the Jellicle tribe of cats, gathers together and their leader, Old Deuteronomy, who's played by Judi Dench, picks one cat,
Yes.
and they all sing songs to sort of plead their case.
Yeah.
Picks one cat to ascend to what's called the Heaviside layer.
Yeah.
And after they do that, they get to be reborn
Yes.
as a new cat.
And you basically, it's essentially offering you this opportunity to live the life that you want. But Lana and I just had a discussion about the mythology of this story, which is this. It's unclear because of, again, the perspective. You open the film where we're kind of clearly in the human world, and
Yes.
then this cat finds herself in the midst of the Jellicles because she's abandoned there. And then the perspective transforms, and you're in the world of the cats.
Well, because the signs all change.
Because the signs all change.
Like the signs in Piccadilly Circus all change to
They
say
all change
cat things.
to say cat things.
They say, like,
Exactly.
Catsino.
Exactly. So now you're in the world of the cats. So what's unclear but suggested, and it's a little bit of a cat on a cat, because movies like this, when you're in the interior life of an animal, you're actually always examining the interior life of a human being. We know this. That's what Pixar does all the time. Whether you're in the interior life of a toy or a bear or a rabbit.
About people.
It's about people.
Yeah.
But in this version of it, it's a cat on a cat because you're in the interior life of a cat that's really the interior life of a human being. But it's unclear if that's a fantasy life made up by the cats,
Yes.
who once night falls, they're like, this is our world, and we picture this world, and that the whole Jellicle ceremony is them just trying to act as if they have some religious control, almost religious control in their life, but they have no actually control in their life. And that that it's kind of the island situation, like you're being sent to a better place, but really they just die. Like, it's very unclear what's happening.
The whole perspective of this film is muddled, and I've said it before, I don't like Tom Hooper as a director.
Yeah.
I've not liked the way he's directed.
Did I say Hopper before?
You may have, I don't know.
I apologize.
I've not liked the way he's directed one of his movies, and this one least of all, because all of his movies look so dreary, and this movie looks so dreary.
They don't
and it's
have
all
fun with it.
No, it's all set in dank, dark rooms, and I know the stage show is set on in an alley because they have the one stage. That's what you have to do. You have the limitless possibilities of film at your disposal, and 85% of this movie is set in this just dark, dirty, dank, dingy-looking places, and then there's one song, the Skimbleshanks the Railway Cat song, where the cat puts on tap shoes, which again, whatever, but then they go to like a fantasy sequence, and then they're like tap dancing down the railways, and they're in a train, and they're doing, and I'm like, and it comes to life, and you're like, yes. Dude, you put energy and like it feels alive, and then it goes back to this dark, dirty, dingy, dank room where you spend the whole rest of the movie. I will tell you how determined this movie was for me to hate it. Of all the songs in Cats, all of them, there was one that I loved.
The magical.
No. The Mungo, Jerry, and Rumpelteazer song, because it's playful and it's an earworm and it gets caught in your head. And I was thinking in my head, at least that number in the movie will be pleasant to listen to. And they changed it. They changed the entire rhythm and melody to make it boring. Yeah. So like the one song besides Memory, because J-Hud, that I was looking forward to, they changed and made worse. It's literally like they said, how could we disappoint you more than you're already expecting to be disappointed? And they managed to achieve it.
I think it is a little more dour. Like the musical has a lot of life and energy and vitality. It is still very, very strange. It notably makes no sense. No. But the other interesting thing about this one for me too, tonally, is that we're following this one cat who's, she's discovering this world and things of that nature. And she's actually somewhat in the midst of an existential crisis, which is weird because it'll go from these really intense moments where she's examining the nature of what she needs in order to feel fulfilled in her little cat life. And then some other cat will just show up apropos of nothing, by the way, and say, it's time, literally these words, it's time to party, and then a dance number ensues. Yes. It makes no sense at all. Well, it is so, and they don't even care. They don't even try to connect the dots.
That's the story they're trying to imprint onto this, because this whole thing of following the young cat, like that's imprinted onto the movie. Because again, and I said this when I saw the musical, to have made that musical, this is fiscally irresponsible, but that would have been more fiscally irresponsible because there's absolutely no story. But it turns out it would have been better because the attempt they do to try to put a story comes off as so ham-handed. And you're right, they make no attempt to massage it. It's literally like they cut and pasted sections into the script and then didn't change anything or transition.
There's no you could have even made a transitional moment. You could have written that in as long as you're adding this character.
It's like,
but they don't.
It's like if we were having this discussion and then Jason Derulo just burst through the door and said, "Let's dance,"
and then we just danced. I know you'd be happy, and this video would be amazing. You're right about that.
This movie feels like a prank, but I don't know on whom.
It's on all of us.
Is it on us? Is it on the actors? Is it on the studio? Is it on the musical? Is it brilliant and we don't know that it's brilliant, and so that's why the prank is on us? Is the prank on us because they're getting people to see this? It feels like a conspiracy, but I don't know who the conspirators are or what the ultimate goal is.
Well, it's Joker, the Joker. I think you've unpacked it. It's Joker stuff. I mean, at the bottom of it, clearly this is the work of the Joker, right? Yes. Because it's just chaos.
He's destabilizing
everything. This is Joker stuff at its purest. I just want to see this, though. This is where you and I are going to end up being different about this, I think. I think it's hilarious. It is structurally insane. It makes no sense. The choices make no sense. I have a lot of empathy for every actor in this because I think what I was saying before I think is really true. In order to dress up in a cat suit and commit to what you are doing, even though what you are doing doesn't match what the rest of the cats are doing. Yeah. It takes a lot of vulnerability. I think they're displaying extreme trust in the director and the studio to take care of them. And I don't think they were taken care of.
So the prank is on them.
The prank is on them because it's like, that's where I do actually have a lot of empathy because they are bringing the full force of their talent and their commitment and their willingness to give this a go to this movie. And the movie just doesn't keep it all together, right? Yeah. So I do feel bad for them. At the same time, I will say this is a movie in which Idris Elba will just say meow and then do this and disappear, ladies and gentlemen. So with that in mind, I actually think it's going to be one of those movies like Rocky Horror, which is, I think has a lot to going for it, that it's going to be so fun to watch in a group that is rowdy, that is singing along, that is talking back to the screen, where if you're an adult and of age, perhaps there are some adult beverages available to you, which the studio made available to us.
That's when it's bad. When you get there and they're like,
here's some champagne.
Oh, I'm checking in. They're like, great. And here's a ticket to get a free drink before the movie starts. It's like, oh, wow.
And here are some cat ears because we know what we have. Yeah. And that's where I think they're right. They know what they have. And things like Alamo Drafthouse is doing events where you can dress up like a cat and get rowdy. And I think that's what the purpose, it is definitely Joker stuff, for sure. But the purpose that it can serve is that if you understand that that's what it is, that it ended up being this very weird thing that didn't quite gel together, but that is, if you roll into the wave, sort of fun to watch. I wish it was a hair less grim because then it would be even more fun to watch. But because it is so strange, it's fun to watch. And because it makes no sense, it's fun to watch. I think that's going to be what this movie is for people.
Listen, if this movie was just weird.
Yeah.
If it was just
weird.
It's
so weird, Dan.
I mean, no, it is weird, but it is so many more other things on top of that and mixed in with it. If it were just weird and the approach was sort of what you saw from the Cordons and the Rebel Wilsons and the Idris Elbas, where everyone was really aware of what they were in, the movie itself was sort of not completely meta, but was aware of the legacy of the show and how ridiculous everything is and was willing to have fun with that and sort of bring the audience into it, then I might say, give it a go. Yeah. I cannot in good conscience recommend this movie in the form that it exists.
I can't recommend that you go thinking it's going to be good.
I can't. It's not good. It's quite bad.
Yes.
And if the U.S. Treasury issued ironic bucks, if they issued irony bucks, then I would say, sure, shell out a few irony bucks to go see Cats. But in my capacity as somebody whose part of my job is to help guide you into what I cannot in good conscience recommend that you go see this. I will tell you that if you do, You're not going to forget it.
You will.
It's not like any other movie you're going to see this year.
If you're really like making hard choices about which films to invest in seeing in theaters, I can't recommend that either, because there's so many great films out at the moment. However, if you have a little flexibility for the pure sake of the experiment of you yourself witnessing the attempt, which I do think was a big swing, does not connect, but to unpack for yourself what happened in the making of this movie, I think it's actually kind of interesting. But more importantly, the only way to truly enjoy the experience, in my opinion, is to know exactly what you're going in for, exactly why, to get a group of friends, perhaps, again, if you're of age,
substance of your choice,
legal of your choice, and know that it is for that. Go to one of the Alamo. I'm not here paid by Alamo Drafthouse, but go to a place where you're supposed to talk back to the screen, because you also don't want to interrupt people that are really legitimately trying to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Our audience was a press screening, and it was one of the rowdiest press screenings I've ever heard.
It was this and the second 50 Shades movie were the two that I can remember where
people
for
were
the
just
first
actively
45 minutes there was kind of like a simmering under the surface, and then at some point there was a break point where the laughter was allowed, and then it started cascading.
Yeah.
And yes, there was a lot of laughter at this movie.
Yeah.
In the screenings that we were in, that both of us were in. I will say this. I have not been able to go with my significant other, Mara, to either this film or Star Wars.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say, having not recommended either of these movies. I am very much not looking forward necessarily to the whole experience of watching Star Wars again. There's parts of it that I'm looking forward to seeing. I can't wait to go see this.
I can't wait. I'm going to pay to see it.
I'm paying to see her see the movie.
Oh, no. I am taking my significant other for sure, but I'm taking him to a screening that is designed to be rowdy.
Yes.
Because I want him to have the full...
Take that as you will.
I can't wait. I honestly can't wait.
It's
so crazy.
So not good.
It's so crazy.
In a really unique way. At least it's bad in a really remarkable, distinctive way, and not bad in the very mediocre, predictable way that other films that may or may not be coming out this week I thought were. So
it's like if the Joker was a toddler, Dan, and he was just like, and then the cat said, and disappeared, and then he was a boss.
Yeah.
And then he said ineffable and disappeared.
Ineffable. Here's what I think, and this will be my final word on Cats. This is how crazy this movie is. I don't know if this is going to be the biggest financial disaster of the year, or if it's going to make $1.5 billion.
Can't say.
I don't
Impossible
know.
To say.
Either case is completely, in my mind, possible.
$1.5 million in irony bucks.
Billion.
Straight $1 billion in $1 billion of irony bucks straight into Universal's coffers. You know what? It's along the lines of The Masked Singer for me, Dan, in the sense that it is definitely the dissolution of the civilization as we currently know it. But I don't know if we're landing on a more fun place on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. I know that you guys think that we should only recommend things that we truly love and are of high value, and you're right about that. But let me just defend us for a minute. This was different. It was weird. It was funny. I'm just saying the countdown and paying attention to it.
Yes.
And the final reason is that I think a little bit when we do that, we're pointing out with irony how hyperbolic some of the dialogue can be around films, because we're doing it with a film that's obviously very silly. And you know what? If Screen Junkies had a mascot, it would be the shrug emoji. And if we had a motto, it would be point out with irony the hyperbolic ways that we deal with film.
Yeah, it's, man. Well, Roth, we've got one more review, I believe, before the end of the year.
This one will actually be good.
Yes, we got one more review to do, and this is actually. Have you seen it yet?
I'm seeing it tonight.
Yeah. It is a movie that I quite enjoyed. Roth is seeing it tonight. We'll be back with that review, which I believe will be our last review of the year, yesterday was quite a day. I started it with Star Wars. I ended it with cats. I feel like my brain has been put through a meat grinder. I'm Dan Murrell.
I'm Roth Cornet, and it's, Meow Town, man. Meow Town.
The cavity.
Meowty holidays? That doesn't make sense.